YouTube.
I'm actually going to go ahead and share this to my page as well. So,
All right.
oh, there we are.
Yes.
All right.
All right. There we go. So, hello, YouTube. My name is Emmie from Emmie Evolving. I have Alex from Hybrid Astrology here with me. We're going to be doing some readings. If you would like to have your chart read or have a condensed ClairTarot reading, please do visit the link in the pinned comment for Facebook. And I'm going to go ahead and comment that here on YouTube. There we go. So, how are you doing, Alex?
Just a moment. I want to share this to my page, and this my laptop is a bit glitchy. So I'm doing fantastic today. I'm at the end of my almost at the end of my day here. It's evening, and this is a much anticipated day for me. One of the reasons for that being the session that we're about to have, but of course also because it's the Libra blue moon today, or the pink moon, right? People get into arguments over the internet. Is it a blue moon? Wasn't it a pink moon? You're wrong. It's a blue moon. It's a pink moon, right? So I think, there's a special kind of energy, astrologically speaking, today, and I'm just happy to be here and talk to everyone.
I'm excited to have you back on. It's been a while since I had you with me here. You guys, if you don't know, Mr. Alex over here is my personal astrologist. He helps me to decipher my life, which is a hot ass mess, and I love it. I love it.
And I'm privileged, and I'm grateful to you for inviting me again on your channel. I had fun the last time. I always enjoy doing this, and of course, love talking to you and your audience. So thanks very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So if you guys would like to have a condensed reading, either from myself or ClairTarot, or Alex for his chart, what kind of chart were you doing the reading for?
Okay, so it's basically an astrological chart reading, and we could look at a particular topic that someone is interested in, or just a general reading of the chart. Really, I tend to have not. I don't really use templates for my readings. I just tend to go with whatever the client or the person in front of me needs and is wondering about. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. When you did my private reading, you have no idea how. Oh, actually, no. You probably do have an idea how accurate you are.
Well, I try to be. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. It was insane, you guys. It's like down to the D. I was like, how do you know this? Is this witchcraft?
It is.
I was just like, this is too accurate. Oh my God. Because you were giving me details of things that I haven't told anyone. These were private conversations I was having with my husband. And you were like, oh yeah, and this month, this is a potentiality. I'm like, oh, you've been listening to me. That accurate. It kind of freaked me out because that was the first time I'd had an actual private reading done, and it was absolutely worth. You know what? I'm sorry. I feel like you need to be charging way more. Seriously, the value of the reading. I mean, had we not had that reading, like all seriousness, I think I might have had a nervous breakdown. Not even joking. I've had a lot of like crazy stuff going on in my life. And I keep thinking back like, okay, calm down, girl. Alex said this would happen this time. Okay, we're on track. It's okay. We're going to survive this.
Right. And I think that just goes to show, right, the importance of astrology in this new age when there's so much to. It's not just that the world is getting more complex, we're spiritually getting more complex. So there's a lot more to understand about the human being in general. And I think that that's the main reason for which astrology will be, along with other, metaphysical arts and so forth, are a thing of this century, right? Yeah. So I think people like you and I, like others, are really privileged to be kind of at the forefront of a new kind of era of metaphysics. And yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, and your type of astrology, it's hybridized, right? It's not. Right. You want to explain that a little bit?
So hybrid astrology is basically just a, I guess, a bit of a branded name, because you have to call it something for people to understand that it's something of its own, right? But it is a hybrid in the sense that it combines tools from Western astrology or Hellenistic astrology, ancient Greek astrology, and Vedic astrology, which is Indian astrology. But the foundation of it tends to be Hermetic. So we start from the Hermetic principles, and that's the basis of hybrid astrology. And then we bring in tools from any kind of style of astrology, really, as long as it makes sense. And what we have is a minimalist, but I think highly efficient style of astrology, which is, you know, fit for our times, I guess. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, it's, and for people who don't know, I know nothing about astrology.
You should, though.
Well, I'm learning from you. I'm learning from you. I didn't know diddly squat about anything astrological. And I was just like, you know, you have just such an amazing energy about you. I'm going to go ahead and book a session. And you explained everything in a way that I actually understood. And then I was like, you know what? This astrology stuff is easy peasy. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to get some books and I'm going to understand this. And then I'm going to talk to you and impress you and be like, yeah, you know, we can hang out. And then I bought the books and I was like, oh my God, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
I'm confused.
It's overly complicated. It doesn't need to be that complicated. There just needs to be that I guess that process of going into all of that complicated stuff that there is out there in various you know, disciplines of astrology, and then working with that to bring it back to a simplified form, which is accurate most of the time, because most of the stuff in books really don't really work by themselves, or they're diluted, or they have low you know, accuracy in general. So if you just go into all of that complicated stuff and you bring out the things that actually work most of the time and consistently and are clear and straightforward, then you pretty much have hybrid astrology.
You wrote a manual, right?
Teaching
your yes. Do you want to share the link for that?
So I think there's links to my page all over the place, so people can just go on a hunt for it if they want, or they can just send me a message and I'll link them to it. Yeah,
definitely send him a message. I feel like I totally wasted money on 2 books. I was like, what does any of this mean? And I think I'm a pretty smart person, but I started reading and I was like, what? Are you saying my soul is slutty? Oh.
I'm pretty sure it didn't say anything like that anywhere.
I just closed the book. I was like, yeah, we should put that on the show. I'll just pay for a reading from Alex. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Do you have the few people that pre-ordered?
Sure. Let me go get the charts, and we're gonna share the charts on screen as well. Let me just find that everything's messy over here. Okay. So let's start over here with Melissa. And I do need to ask before, because your assistant kindly sent the charts over. Is this military time, just to make sure that it's not AM, PM, because there's no AM, PM in the times. So just to make sure it's military time.
Okay, Melissa Bernard, is the time that you sent, or the time that you put military time? I think that's what I had it set to.
Yeah, probably. So Melissa wants to know about career and relationships. And looking here at Melissa's charts, we can, if we look at a few things which are representative of career, which is the 10th house here, mainly the 10th house, and relationships, which is the 7th house, we'll see that planet Venus here is involved in both of them. So rules the 7th house of relationships, goes into the 10th house of the career in Capricorn retrograde. Now, there's a few things about that. First of all, Capricorn is very selective. Capricorn is very worldly. Capricorn likes to have status, likes to achieve, right? And Melissa has a placement in this very selective Capricorn, but it's not quite the kind of very masculine driven energy like Mars would be. It's Venus. So she kind of would like to flow into that rather than attack it and you know, go after it and just hustle, right? And so Venus here is also a planet representing, you know, pleasurable things, femininity, relationships. And because Venus also rules the 7th house, what I'm getting at is that there's a powerful connection between relationships of all kinds and the career. So certain times the career may become an impediment towards relationships. Other times relationships may become impediments towards the career. And why do I say impediments? Because Venus is retrograde. So up until at least a certain maturity stage in one's life, a retrograde planet is likely to be experienced as a bit problematic. So it can be a case of career and work getting in the way of relationships and vice versa. But what Melissa really has to do is combine those in a way. And that's the tricky thing here with Venus being retrograde, because it takes a bit of a long time for Melissa to figure out how to actually merge her relationship sector and her career sector. And so that's valid for, you know, as for the career sector, it means that while working, you need to develop relationships, Melissa. You need to be aware of your relationships in the career sector, your work relationships. You need to collaborate a lot. There needs to be a fluency between you and colleagues and coworkers and superiors and employees, right? Depending on what exactly you're working, or maybe just between you and your clients, right? So there's always that element in your career that you need to be forming relationships. And going back to your 7th house, there's also the theme in your 7th house that a relationship kind of needs to provide you with something in the career sector, or needs to align to your career sector. It needs to be seen as a plus for the career sector as well. And I would suppose you're kind of picky about that. You're kind of selective about that. Why selective? Because it's Capricorn, and Capricorn is selective. It's picky, right? And so we can explore more about that. We can go from, you know, the 10th house here, which is Capricorn, to Saturn, which is the lord of this house, and it's placed in the 3rd house. This will tell us something extra besides what Venus is telling us about this career sector. And it's telling us that there's perhaps a bit of a drudgery involved, and it has to do with the 3rd house, with coming and going, commuting, perhaps handling communications, paperwork, collaboration. So there's not only Venus, which represents relationships in your career sector. You need to be forming relationships, but you also need to learn to collaborate and be responsible in a scattered environment. So this is one of the main things. This environment that you need to be or that you are in is somehow active, multifaceted, and scattered. And perhaps your way of thinking is a bit, or your way of perceiving things is a bit scattered. But what part of what you will make your career flourish is you learning to just handle those responsibilities patiently and with commitment, without allowing that process to be scattered by the, you know, by the scattered energy in your environments and in your emotions, in your ways of seeing things, and so forth. So both of these planets are retrograde. So that indicates that perhaps there's a longer period of time that needs to pass, more maturity to be reached before you really get the hang of what this combination is and how to use it. And because the third house is controlled by Mercury, we can just go from house to the lord of that house. It's in the 12th house, Pisces. That already tells me there's something that you would prefer, some spirituality and some non-linear approach to your work and to your activity. So considering all of this, as per career, I wouldn't say necessarily that employment is your best option. It's more about collaborating. It's more about building. If a job allows you to do that, that may be fine for you. But otherwise, you need to seek something that allows you to build personal relationships. There needs to be that element of detachment and spirituality there. There needs to be that spiritual detachment towards your responsibilities as well. You can't feel that kind of mundane pressure about your career, right? There's also that element. So there's multiple ways in which we could look at this. Again, going more towards your relationship sector here, the 7th house. First of all, with the moon and the south node here, you're learning to be more emotionally disengaged. So that's going to say a lot about relationships in general. You really need to harbor a perception of reality which focuses on the futility of things, right? So K2 is the spiritual point, which scatters karma so that we can be closer to our spiritual nature. And when you have that with the moon, a few effects happen, one of which is that the mind is a bit scattered. It's difficult for the mind to focus precisely and for a long time on the same thing. And that may appear as a nuisance at first, but what it's really trying to do is take your attention away from the mundane aspect of things. That's what it's actually doing. So when you get scattered in your mind, in your emotions, just be aware that it's the influence of this south node which is trying to take your attention away from what you're focusing on. So try to go within whenever that scattering effect happens, agitation, And, again, detachment is a major theme for you. Even though finances are a major theme for you as well with, Mars going into the 2nd house, you still, in your activity, can't be burdened by mundane limitations. So Melissa, I guess that's what I would say about your career mainly and your relationship sector. So as for your relationship sector, it needs to be aligned to what you see yourself as in the world. That's one of the main things in your relationships. Again, with this Venus, it may take a longer time for you to actually get the hang of that because these planets are retrograde. These are the cards that we're dealt, but really everything is a possibility in the sky somewhere. So thanks very much, Melissa. I hope that this reading will be useful for you. Emmie, anything that you would like to chime in on that?
It just really falls in line with what I've been feeling for her as well, where it's like it needs to be more than just a paycheck, more than just that 9 to 5. It has to really tap deep into her heart and make her feel as though it's more than just a job. It's if she continues with that, I guess there's nothing wrong with continuing with that 9 to 5, but you will not feel satisfied. You're going to continue to feel a sense of longing, feel very incomplete and very unproductive and unsatisfied.
Right.
So, but I mean, that takes a huge leap of faith to leave, the corporate world and do something that's more heart-based and more in alignment with your soul purpose. So it's
even in the corporate world. So this chart is not, does not negate that the corporate world could be for Melissa. It's just that she needs to focus on the relationship she's forming and to keep the proper distance from that. So as long as she's working in a place where she can form relationships and work based on that, that can be a good thing in the corporate sector as well. Be a real estate broker or whatever else, you may have an inclination for, because Mars here, this Mars, which rules the ascendant sign, placed in the 2nd house, says that Melissa is really intent on having material security, right? And not intense so much in the career sector, because Venus is a soft planet here. We mentioned at the beginning, where's Mars, the hard planet that goes for it, in the second house, and this is about finances. So, you know, Melissa needs whatever provides her that security, as long as it also fulfills this sector. Otherwise, she will feel in the relationship sector, she will feel perhaps a bit, you know, falling a bit short, and in the career sector overall, she may feel that she's falling a bit short if she's only pursuing this, because then relationships and, you know, the promise of what can be in terms of her reputation and what she's accomplished could be if she focused on these kinds of things, right? Selective relationship forming and PR and things of that nature.
Did you say PR? I've been trying to tell her to do PR. Also, this really ties into this feeling that she does have, it is kind of like corporate work, but it's more of a non-profit type of corporate work, where it's really tapping into something, some sort of activity, a business type of activity that's still structured, but it's making her feel as though she's fulfilling some part of her soul purpose here in this life. And
right.
Yeah, it feels like a non-profit type of.
So when I said detachment, right? The South Node wants detachment from mundane aspects of things. A non-profit would be represented by the South Node, right? The South Node represents monks and ascetics, for example, people who renounce worldly things, and that ties into charity and renouncing, you know, taking money, right? But again, Melissa needs to take care of this financial area in her life, and that's a necessity, because, you know, with Mars here, she probably also likes to spend on nice things. So how are you gonna, you know? So as in many charts, there's a bit of a seeming contradiction between one aspect of the chart and the other. That's probably also a point where the native finds confusion in their lives and conflicting ideas and conflicting aims. But it's something that needs to be reconciled, and it's in this reconciliation that some potential can be found. So I guess, yeah, that all makes sense.
No idea how accurate this is, like, because I know her personally, and I'm like, I told you, girl. Even the planets are telling you now. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. That's right. Amazing. Melissa, do you have any questions for Alex? She says, I'm learning these things for sure. And wow.
So Melissa, if you have any questions, I'll be glad to look at that for you.
I don't see, I might have a lag though. While we give her some time to write whether she has a question or not, do you know who's next? She says, does it matter that I moved?
So let me share the chart on screen here. Does it matter? This is actually what I was looking at. So I don't want to embarrass myself and say that I thought we were all looking at it all this time, but that's what happened. So this is the chart, Melissa, if you need to see it and see what I was talking about. Libra here, your 7th house, 10th house, Venus, Mars in the 2nd house, all of this other stuff. So what was the question again?
Does it matter that she moved from where she was born?
Oh no, that's, you know, the 4th house is the place where you were born, your home. So it's probably with the moon ruling the 4th house and moving 12th from, right, the house of loss, 12th from the 4th house. This indicates a loss in your roots. So you separate from your roots. It's also, again, because the moon rules this 4th house of home, of upbringing. The South Node, which we were saying that detaches from things, wants to create detachment and space and scatter things, will also scatter these indications as a result of being with the moon, which rules this house. So I hope I'm not confusing anyone. It's really simple. Moon rules this, and the influences that the moon feels, this house will also feel, and this is the home. So Melissa will probably move multiple times in life, actually. She'll probably feel that she's leaving behind roots all of the time. So that may be her childhood roots, then her teenage roots, then her 20s roots, different set of roots, leave them behind, go somewhere else. That may be a common theme. And she's also quite connected to the idea of foreign things, right? She likes foreign tradition, foreign things in general. And she would also do well in working with foreigners, I think, based on this chart.
I'm a foreigner.
Kind of, yes. Well, yeah, I guess based, in the country that you live in, you would be considered somewhat of a Sagittarius person, right? Sagittarius being, exotic or foreign or things of that nature. Of course, Sagittarius represents other things as well. So the North Node being in Sagittarius connects her processes of karmic formation, the karmas that she's forming during this lifetime, to ninth house things. Foreign lands, philosophy, knowledge, dharma, living according to dharmic principles. She's forming a set of brand new dharmic principles in this life, and that's that's likely to be quite a process. And Melissa needs to be open to allowing her mentality and philosophy of life to transform, however often necessary. And of course, this year with Jupiter transiting her ninth house, that's really big. That's going to be really big in her experience and in, I guess, helping her expand her dharmic understanding and her life principles.
That's awesome.
All right. Thank you, Melissa. Yeah. So glad I figured out that I have to share the charts as well. So are we heading straight to another one? I think something, is that my internet? I wonder. No, well, what do I need to do here?